I used to think a nursing home would bring peace, a gentle place to spend the later chapters of life, somewhere quiet, with warm meals carrying staff and friendly faces who'd understand where I was coming from. After all, we'd all be in the same boat, right? Same generation, same aches, same memories of a different world. I imagine cozy afternoons playing cards, late mornings with no alarm clocks, evening chats with people who remembered what life was like before smartphones and self-checkouts. But that picture, that dream, it started fading the moment the door clicked shut behind me. What I didn't expect was the silence, not the peaceful kind, but the hollow kind, the kind that settles in the hallway after visiting hour's end, the kind that wraps around you when your name isn't on anyone's calendar anymore. I didn't expect a routine either. How everything from your breakfast to your bathroom breaks starts running on someone else's clock, or how quickly your world shrinks to a bed, a chair, and a window. And loneliness, not just being alone, but feeling invisible, being surrounded by people, but not seen, not really. It took me a while to realize what I had done, that I hadn't just moved houses. I had unknowingly traded in more than my belongings. I had handed over parts of my freedom, my identity, and the little joys that once made each day feel different from the last. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't an attack on the staff or the facility. They're doing their jobs. They keep me safe. They bring my medicine. They're kind. But this is something deeper. It's the kind of truth nobody really talks about because it's uncomfortable, because it sounds ungrateful, because people would rather not think about it. But if you, or someone you love, is thinking about making this move, please hear me out. This is not a rant. It's not a cry for pity. It's a quiet truth, one I had to learn the hard way. And if I can help even one person by sharing it, then it's worth every word. These are the 5 hard truths I wish someone had told me before I moved into a nursing home. Please don't just watch. Listen, because once you're here, there's a lot you can't unlearn. Truth number 1. They tell you it's your new home. That's the word they keep using, home. But the truth is, the moment you move into a nursing facility, something subtle but significant changes. You're not the one turning the key anymore. You're not in charge of the space around you or the rhythm of your day. It starts slowly. Breakfast is served at a fixed hour, whether you're hungry or not. Your medication arrives on a strict schedule, and missing it isn't really a choice. Lights dim early. Hallways grow quiet, not naturally like in a peaceful neighborhood, but as part of a policy. And suddenly you realize you're no longer deciding when to eat, when to walk, when to rest, or even when to think in silence. You start waiting for your name to be called, for someone to knock before entering, for permission to move beyond the safety line drawn by routines. I used to sit on my back porch at dusk, sipping tea, watching the sun dip beneath the trees, my own little ritual. Now, dinner comes on a tray, and someone else decides when the blinds are drawn. Some evenings, I just want to sit outside and breathe the night air, but the doors are locked after a certain time. Even wanting to stay awake to read a few extra pages of a good book can feel like I'm breaking some unspoken rule. It's not that anyone is being cruel. The nurses work hard. They're often kind, but the system they work in doesn't leave much room for choice. And when your days begin to blur together, when every hour is assigned a task you didn't choose, it's easy to lose a part of yourself. It's a strange kind of grief, mourning the little freedoms, like choosing when to take a shower or deciding to cook your favorite meal just because you feel like it. Those things might seem small until they're gone. I used to believe freedom was a grand idea, something tied to laws or flags. But now I know it's in the details. It's in the ability to live your day your way, even in small, quiet ways no one notices. And if you're watching this in the comfort of your own home, still choosing your own routines, still living life by your own tempo, hold on to that. Protect it. Because once it slips away, you realize how sacred it truly was. Truth number 2. They told me a nursing home would be full of community, that I'd be surrounded by people my age, that we'd share stories, play games, laugh about the old days. But here's what I found instead. A lot of folks sitting in silence. Chairs turned toward TVs no one's really watching. Staff walking by with good intentions and tired eyes, and a kind of waiting, not for anything specific, just waiting. At first, I thought maybe it was just an adjustment period, that friendships would come with time. But making friends in a place like this, it's harder than you think. Many of the people here are dealing with memory loss. Some can't hear well. Others are simply trying to hold themselves together, physically, emotionally, and no one wants to burden anyone else. So we sit together, but apart. There's a man named Harry who lives a few rooms down. Used to be a jazz musician, played with some big names back in the day. He still hums when no one's around, but he rarely speaks now. Not because he's forgotten how, but because he stopped expecting anyone to listen. And that's what loneliness really feels like. Not silence, but the absence of connection. You can be surrounded by people, even dozens of them, and still feel invisible. Because what we truly crave isn't company, it's conversation, real connection. Someone remembering your name, asking how you're really doing, laughing at your old jokes. Sometimes, I catch myself longing for things I never thought I'd miss. The sound of my home phone ringing, a neighbor waving as they mowed their lawn, my grandson knocking on the door, asking for cookies, even the sound of shoes in the hallway, reminding me someone's on the other side of the wall. Here, the days are long and the quiet is heavy. It's not that people mean to forget you, it's just that life moves on without you, once you're no longer in the middle of it. And that's the hardest part. Not being alone, but feeling like you've been left behind. So if you're still living at home, still surrounded by the mess and music of everyday life, embrace it. The barking dog, the neighbors arguing, the doorbell ringing too early on a Saturday. That's life. That's noise that means you're still part of something. Because real loneliness, it doesn't come from being by yourself. It comes from the feeling that no one notices whether you're still here. Truth number 3. There's a moment that hits you after you move in. It doesn't come right away. But one day, you realize something's changed. People stop calling you by your name. Not in a rude way. It's just subtle at first. You're room 23 now. Or the gentleman with diabetes. Or the one with the walker. And in that moment, you feel it. You're no longer seen as the person you spent your whole life becoming. Not the father, the grandmother, the World War II vet, the school teacher. Not the one who built things with his hands, or baked the best pies in the neighborhood. Now you're a chart, a diagnosis, a schedule of pills. Every interaction starts to revolve around your symptoms. Have you taken your meds? Have you eaten? Did you sleep through the night? Have you had a bowel movement? And while I understand these questions matter, especially when you're older, it still chips away at something inside you. Because no one asks about the things that made you you. No one here knows that I used to race classic cars, or that my wife and I danced under the stars on our anniversary. Every year, no matter the weather, no one knows the story of how I proposed to her in a thunderstorm. And she said yes, laughing, soaked to the bone. Those moments, those memories, they still live in me. But out here, they're invisible. I often sit in my room and think, what I wouldn't give for someone to ask me about my first job, or what music I loved when I was young. Even something as simple as, what made you smile as a kid? But the truth is, people are busy. The nurses, the aides, they're doing what they can. They mean well, but the system is built around treatment, not connection. It's built to keep us alive, not necessarily to make us feel alive. And when you're treated like a patient long enough, you start to forget that you were ever anything more. That's why I hold tight to my story now. The old letters I keep in a drawer. The pictures I still look at every night. The memories I replay, not out of sadness, but out of pride. Because they remind me that I was here, that I mattered, that I lived a full, complicated, beautiful life. So if you're preparing for this next chapter, or if someone you love is, please remember, your story doesn't end when you move into a nursing home. It may feel like the world around you forgets who you are, but you don't have to. Hold on to your memories. Keep telling your stories, even if no one's listening in the moment, because who you are is more than what's on a chart. And no one, not time, not age, not illness, can take that away from you unless you let them. Truth number 4. People always ask the same thing. So how much does it cost? And I always pause because they're talking about dollars, about room fees, medical bills, meal plans. And yes, it is expensive, thousands a month. Every little thing, from a doctor's visit to a toothbrush, seems to come with a price tag. But what they don't ask, what no one ever asks, is what it costs in other ways. The kinds of costs that don't show up on a spreadsheet. Emotional costs, spiritual ones. The quiet grief of letting go of a life that once felt completely yours. You see, I didn't just leave my house behind. I left the sound of my neighbor's dog barking on Sunday mornings. The smell of my wife's rose garden after it rained. I left the sidewalk where I taught my grandson how to ride a bike. The creaky floorboard in the hallway that only I knew how to step around. These aren't luxuries. They're lifelines. Little pieces of a life lived deeply. There's a man here, Henry. He sold his home just to afford this place. A modest house with a big lemon tree in the backyard. His wife planted it 40 years ago, before she passed. That tree meant something to him. It still does. He keeps a photo of it next to his bed, like it's a person. And I've seen him cry looking at it. Not because he misses the property, but because he misses her. Misses watching that tree grow as their love did. Misses the life that tree symbolized. And that's the thing. We think we're just downsizing, just moving into a safer space. But often, what we're really doing is detaching from the very roots that have kept us grounded. You lose more than a view or a garden. You lose the smell of your own kitchen. The way your home creaked when the wind picked up. The sun hitting the living room floor just right around 4 p.m. Those things matter, more than we realize, because they're the small, sacred threads that stitch our identity together. So when people ask me what it costs, I tell them, be careful how you measure. It's not just about money. It's about moments you'll never recreate. About birthdays spent on FaceTime instead of at the table. About silence where laughter used to live. When you calculate the cost, don't just count the dollars. Count the memories. Count the smells. Count the sunrises and the lemon trees and the footsteps that once made a house a home. Because those are the things you'll miss most when they're gone. Truth number 5. There's this quiet assumption people carry when they look at us in places like this, that we're waiting, that our best days are behind us, that we've somehow crossed an invisible line into the end. But let me tell you something. I'm still here. I still feel joy, deep and real. I still laugh. Sometimes at things only I understand. I still get goosebumps when an old song plays. And I still cry at movies I've seen 100 times. Because even now, stories move me. I didn't come here to fade away. I came because it was safer. Because stairs got harder and my kids got worried. Because sometimes life forces you into places you never imagined calling home. But safety, as I've come to learn, can sometimes steal the spark right out of your days. If you're not careful, the routines settle in. The world outside feels more distant. People start treating you gently, but almost as if you've already said your goodbyes. And that's where we have a fight. Quietly, softly, but fiercely. Because we are not done. Not yet. You see, there's still life in these hands. There are still stories to tell, songs to hum, tears to shed, and jokes to share. There are still lessons we haven't taught, and things we haven't learned. Even if our steps are slower now, even if our world is smaller, you don't stop living just because the scenery changes. You don't stop dreaming just because you've turned 80. And you sure as hell don't stop mattering just because your hair is white and your body needs more rest than it used to. I look back at old photos of my childhood, my wedding, my children play in the yard. And I smile not because those days are gone, but because they remind me of all that I've lived through and all that still lives inside me. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about this next chapter, maybe you're scared. Maybe you're uncertain. I understand. But promise me something. Don't close the book just because someone tells you you're in the last chapter. Write more pages. Even if they're quieter. Even if they're different. Call someone you love. Say what you've been meaning to say. Listen to your favorite music. Watch the sunrise, even from a small window. Because here's the truth that no one says out loud. You are still alive, and that means your life still matters. So alive, fully, bravely, beautifully, in whatever way you can.